Hey y'all, and welcome back to the channel. I first want to thank everyone who reached out to me and expressed concern because I haven't posted a video in the last couple of weeks. I assure you everything is fine and wonderful. This is not going to be my typical DIY decor video. I just wanted to give you guys an update and share with you what all we've been doing and a little bit of behind the scenes of life on our farm. Summertime is an extremely busy time here on the farm with all of the outdoor projects we have going on, maintaining and upkeeping the farm, and of course taking care of our wonderful animals, with a few new additions that I'll share with you a little later on in the video. A little background history: we purchased our property 8 years ago and have been adding on each year to create our own personal paradise that we can use to enjoy all of God's creation. Each year we like to expand and add something different to the farm. Of course, we have all of our land already pastured in with fencing, a shelter for our animals, and each year we save for a really big purchase. In the beginning, after building our house, we built my husband's shop. We've also added some porches to our home, a swimming pool and deck that we can enjoy throughout the summer that overlooks the pastures, as well as additional buildings. And this year is no different. We have been saving up and are so excited about this very large purchase. When we first purchased our donkeys 7 years ago, we were told that they did not need a shelter. They wouldn't get in the shelter. But we built one anyway, and they absolutely love it. They go in there in the heat of the day when it's shaded. They always go in there when it's raining. So I'm not sure where the information came from by the people that we purchased them from, because our farm animals love their shelter. And even though this shelter has served us very well for the last 7 years, and the fact that our farm has now expanded, we wanted something bigger that they could grow into and have even more space. So this year we are purchasing a barn. We looked into a stick-built barn, but it was going to cost us a fortune. So we decided to go with a metal barn, and we chose Carolina Carports out of Dobson, North Carolina. They are the same building company that built my husband's shop. And we want to put it right here in front of this pasture, and we've already kind of marked out the general area of where we want it to be with these wooden stakes, and we want to incorporate it into our other pasture, so we'll build our fencing back up to the building. Since we're just going to be installing it on the ground and not on a concrete pad, you typically want to have your ground level, but this company will cut the legs of the building on site and have the building level, since we have a slight slope to the land. They are supposed to be here late this afternoon and will finish up tomorrow morning, and I'm so excited and can't wait. Of course, even after they build the metal building, we still have to do a lot of work to it before we can allow our animals to go in there. The crew got there later in the afternoon and worked for about 5 hours and finished up the next day in about 4 hours. The animals did periodically come by to check on them and see what they were doing. We chose a 20-foot by 20-foot barn in the center, and then a lean-to on each side, which is roughly 10-foot wide, 20-foot long. We chose the color Quaker Gray, which matches our shop, and then white trim and a black roof. The crew did an absolutely fantastic job building this. We chose the front to have a garage door opening, which we plan on building double Dutch barn doors later on down the road. On each side under the lean-to, we have 2 windows, which will provide good air circulation in the summertime for the animals. On the back side, we had what's called a gable end, which means they just placed the siding at the top peak of the roof. We want to allow our animals to feel comfortable going in there without feeling confined at the moment. And then later on, we may do something a little bit different so that we could protect them a little bit more in the winter time. And if you have ever owned donkeys or goats, they love to push their body up against the fencing and the poles and the trees. And because this is metal, we want to keep them from damaging the metal, and we want this to last for many, many years to come. So we need to add some items to the inside walls to protect not only the building, but our animals. So we're headed over to the lumber store to get all the wood we need. For the interior walls of the barn, we chose to go with T111, which is the same material we used on the exterior of the structure we built for the animals 7 years ago. We're also going to be building a half wall to protect the animals from getting to the garage door opening. So we needed to pick up some decking boards. We needed some 4x4 posts to put in the ground. We're using construction sand to secure those posts in the ground, and we needed a few 2x4s. We'll be adding the T111 just above each of the windows. There wasn't a metal bar going across the middle all the way down, so we added some 2x4s on each end so that we would have a place to screw the T111 to. That way we can screw it above the window, in the middle, and at the bottom portion. We attached those 2x4s using some metal L brackets right below the 2x4s, and we're going to attach the T111 using some sheet metal screws into the metal braces, and we'll use wood screws where we have the 2x4s. Because the ground's not level, we did have to take an account for that and measure each piece and cut them at an angle along the bottom so that it would all be even at the top. We also measured and cut out for each of the windows. We continued this until we got past the second window. We stopped just past that second window because we're going to be building a half wall, and then we repeated this process on the opposite side of the barn. Where the two pieces of T111 overlap each other, there is a little bit of give because it's not solid back there, so we decided to cut strips of T111 down and overlap them in those areas to keep the animals from pushing the wood and breaking it. This also gave it a little bit more of a finished look. Now it's time for us to start on our half wall fence thing that we want to put in the front. So my husband used the post hole diggers to dig a hole about 20 inches deep, and we placed a 4x4 in there. Once we had it to the height we wanted it to be, we packed that in with some construction sand and then covered that up with the dirt. You just want to use something like a 2x4 or something that you can pack all around the 4x4 post, and it will pack that sand down in there, give you a real good secure hold. Now we did make sure it was level on both sides, and then we used a 2x4 to go from that section to the next section to determine where we needed to put our second post. And we wanted to make sure we had enough space to make a gate in the middle. So once we decided where our gate was going to fall, that is when my husband dug the second hole, and we'll set that post just like we did the first one. So it sort of looks like this when you first walk into the barn. We'll have those two posts on the side. We're going to put some decking boards on that. And now we need to set the other two posts on the opposite side. And we left about, I want to say 40 inches, maybe 3 foot, 3.5 foot of a space between the two middle posts so that we could build a gate. Now it's time for us to take our decking boards and attach them on each side to create our fence. We cut those to size and started at the very top, attaching those with some wood screws. Then we placed the board at the bottom, and we tried to space them about 3.5 to 4 inches apart. That way, in the summertime, they can still get a breeze through there. Even when we put those Dutch doors up, we can leave them open, and they can also still see us. Once we had both sides completed, we took measurements for our gate so that we could start on that the very next day. We're going to make the frame of the gate using 2x4s. I'm just going to cut 2 of those down to the same length and 2 of these shorter ones down. And we're going to secure those together using pocket holes. If you've never used a Craig jig, these things are amazing. They give you a really secure fit when you put all of your wood pieces together. I'm just going to drill 2 pocket holes on the ends of the 2 short boards. Once I'm finished with that, I can lay the frame out together, and it's helpful if you have 2 people to hold one of the boards in place so you can screw the other board to it. But if you don't, you can always use some clamps and clamp it to your table. It'll hold it securely as you put those pocket hole screws in. Now that we have our frame built, we're going to cut our decking boards down and use wood screws to attach them to the frame, spacing them the same amount of space that we did for our fence up towards the front of the barn. Now we can take our gate, set it on some pieces of decking board to get it the height we want so we can add our hinges. Because the gate's so heavy, we opted to put 3 hinges on there, and the original latch that we bought wouldn't fit the gap. We just placed a bungee cord just so you could see this video clip, but we do go back and get a much larger latch that will secure and keep this gate closed even if the animals push up against it. We're going to take some leftover lattice that we used on a different project, and we're going to cut those down and attach them to the bottom part of the window to protect our animals from pushing on the glass or the screen. And that way we can just take that down and close the windows in the wintertime, but leave them open in the summer and allow for a nice breeze. On the left lean-to, my husband dug a hole and we placed this wooden fence post right next to the corner of the lean-to so that we can add this very large metal gate, and we'll be able to get the tractor in and out. We are going to take that small man gate down as well as the fencing between the current pasture and the barn. So he secured the bolts into the fencing that we already had, and we hung that very large gate up, and we're going to hold that in place to the new post using a chain. To keep the animals from being able to come into the lean-to, we dug holes and placed two 4x4 posts, one closest to the building because we didn't want to attach the wood to the building, and one in the middle. We then attached decking boards to those two wooden posts as well as the metal bracing on the outside of the lean-to, and we spaced those the same distance as we did for the fencing or like half wall inside of the barn. So that way they can walk directly up to the lean-to, but they can't get through the lean-to into our yard. Moving over to the right-hand side of the barn, my husband's already dug the hole and we've set the fence post at the corner, and then he's going to dig a hole right next to the lean-to itself so we can put another fence post so we'll be able to tie the fencing in from our current pasture. Once he's dug the hole about 20 inches, he'll place the fence post in there, and then we'll measure it from the ground up to see how much he needs to cut off, and he'll just do that with a chainsaw. Then we're going to place that in the dirt just like we did our 4x4 post by placing that construction sand and packing it down, and then we'll cover it up with the dirt and pack it some more. And we like to leave a little mound of dirt just so that when it rains and it settles down, it won't have any air pockets and the post won't move. Now we're going to take our fencing that we had left over from when we put our pastures up, and we're going to roll that out, attach it to our post, and tie it into the current pasture. We're using metal T-posts about 12 foot apart in between the wooden fence posts, and then we can roll our fencing out and attach it to the wooden post using U-nails and attach it to the metal T-post using these metal hooks that you twist around. We added another short run of fence from the two wooden posts that we put in the ground, and then we set up some temporary T-posts and added some cattle panels because we originally thought maybe we wanted to build a chicken coop under the right-hand lean-to. We haven't really decided yet, but we have this up temporarily in case we do decide to do that, and then we can incorporate the chickens out in the pasture some so that they can enjoy a lot of the greenery and the bugs. Now it is time for us to take the fencing down that separates the two pastures and let our baby animals enjoy their brand new barn. We were so blessed to have this barn come at the perfect time. A week before everything was ready, our sweet little Precious was born. And then 1 week after the barn was ready, our sweet little Pepper was born. They're 2 weeks apart. They're going to grow up and be the best of friends. I hope you enjoyed a little bit of behind the scenes of life on the farm. And if you would like to see some upcoming projects we'll be working on, please let me know in the comment section down below. I would love to share them with you. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Please take care, and I'll see you guys next time.